Hi there, I'm Robin Smits, owner and founder of High Prairie Landscape Group in Kansas City. Welcome to our webinar, 5 Outdoor Living Trends Guaranteed to Excite You. Now more than ever, people are spending more time at home and traveling less. People are motivated to have a place to connect with their loved ones outdoors. If there were ever a good time to invest in an outdoor living space, that time is now. Today, I'll be showing you how to maximize the value of your investment dollars by capitalizing on the outdoor living features people actually use and enjoy. During this webinar, you'll learn 3 key things. First, trends based on timeless design principles for lasting enjoyment. Second, how to raise your expectations of what you should expect out of an outdoor living space so you don't have to settle for mediocre. And third, tips and tricks to implement each of these 5 trends. Let's get started, shall we? First, I'm going to be talking to you about adding layers to both your hardscape and planting surfaces in an outdoor living space. What are hardscapes? Hardscapes are those non-living surfaces such as patios, walls, outdoor kitchens, pergolas, etc. Softscapes or landscapes are the living elements of a landscape, plantings, turf, etc. So we're going to talk a little bit about layers, and I'm going to give you some examples and why it's important that you consider layers when you're having an outdoor living space designed and built. First and foremost, let's talk about hardscapes. The hardscape element that you see here, we've got 3 different projects we did in a few different areas in the Kansas City region. But what I want to show you is how, by adding a little bit of depth and dimension to this space with layering, we've created delineating living spaces where each space feels like it has a specific feeling and space. It can feel intimate. It can feel elevated. Terraces, verandas, those types of things, those are timeless terms. But in the world of hardscape design, you can bring a lot of character to a space by implementing proper layer design. One tip and trick I would like to provide to you is a professional designer should never incorporate more than 2 or 3 layers in any outdoor living space because it will begin to feel too choppy and too chopped up. There's a sweet spot there. Secondly, always take into consideration accessibility for your unique situation in your family. If creating sunken areas or terraces requires accessibility for a loved one who can't utilize stairs, there are creative and attractive ways to achieve that when you work with a professional designer. So let's take a look at our projects very quickly and we'll kind of keep moving for you. So in this hardscape situation, you'll see on this main picture on the left here, we have what I would call this ample area outside of the door that is kind of just the step down and accessibility point from the indoors to the outdoors. We have our main terrace back here, which is what I would call kind of the dining and intimate terrace area. It's got the outdoor kitchen, which you can see we also utilize some privacy techniques there. It's got a bar area, and here's what I love about a professional, well-done design. We have engineered this space so that on this top upper side, this bar is perfect countertop height, and on the lower side, it's actually bar height. What this does is create interest, but still the feeling of inclusion between the 2 distinctive outdoor spaces. Then you step down to an intimate fire pit area where 4 to 6 people can gather around the fire, sharing stories about the day, or just enjoying that outdoor living space well into the evening hours or well into those cool fall or spring evenings. Another example in this photo up here, this one was in Leawood here. I want you to see how we have one layer here where we've got this custom firewall and built-in bench so that folks can sit around and enjoy the fire without the fire limiting their accessibility to the rest of the space in the bar. We've got a step down access area out here that leads to the front of the property and a step up over here that you can't see in this photo that leads to the main area of the patio. By creating this step down right here between the bar and then the outdoor kitchen area here, this feels like an intimate yet very delineated and separate space. Last example is out in Olathe, Kansas. This space here, again, we've got one entire layer across here. This is broken up into a screened porch, rainproof area, and an open area, which is now used as kind of a relaxing reading space. But then step down to a custom fire table where people can enjoy cocktails around the fire. Again, if any one of these single spaces was on one level or one plane, you would lose a significant amount of the interest and delineation that is currently provided by creating these terraces and verandas that you just wouldn't have if it was all on one space. Now let's talk about plantings. A well-designed landscape can achieve visual interest and achieve a feeling of being in a very special and unique space when done well. I do have one thing I want to mention. The pictures that I'm utilizing today and the example properties that I'm utilizing show a style that lends itself more to the design style that prefers lush, full spaces. But I want you to know that even with a modern style or a clean style, you can achieve layers in your landscape without being so lush and full if you prefer that look. The key here is the depth and dimension that is created when you utilize layers in design. I'm going to walk you through this pretty quickly. Bear with me. You can see here in a couple of these photos, the key thing with landscape plantings is you're always going to have between 3 and 4 layers for an attractive, multi-season, multi-interest design. You're going to have a potential ground plane. That could be ground cover. That could be a low-hanging perennial. That could be a low annual. Then you're going to have what I call foreground. That's what I would call the variegated liripe that pulls your eye around this corner or pulls your eye around this wall right here. So ground plane, foreground. In this case, an annual scaevola is used as our foreground and ground plane, honestly. So what that does is it creates kind of what I call the foot or the barrier. It hides the ugly legs of shrubs behind them if those shrubs do not have attractive bases. How many of you have seen a landscape where you view the landscape and the top of the plant is beautiful because the top of the plant gets adequate sunlight, but maybe underneath the legs of it are unattractive? When you've planted a foreground, you help hide that unattractive thing. But you know what else a foreground does? It creates flow and texture, which are 2 key design elements that any professional landscape designer is going to want to bring to the table to give you an over-the-top, significantly better space than some of those Joe Blow mediocre landscapes. So you're going to have potentially a ground plane, hopefully a foreground in some capacity. And then you're going to have what I call the foundation level, which is kind of this mid-layer right here. Now, foundations can have more than one mid-layer. Sometimes you'll have low mid, which is what I would consider these boxwoods in this example, or the yews and the deutzia in this example. And then you have a step-up mid-layer. Sometimes that's achieved with dogwood in our market. Sometimes it's viburnum. You pick it. Maybe it's a nice large hydrangea. We love our white blooming limelight hydrangea here. So here's the deal. You've got a foreground. You've got a mid-level, which is your foundation. And you want at least 80% of your landscape design to include a good mid-level or foundation because that structure is what carries the eye across a space. And then last but not least, we have what we call our vertical or tall elements. This typically tends to be an upright evergreen or potentially an ornamental tree or an upright, maybe in this case, in this narrow space, it's an upright boxwood. Back here, they've got an ornamental tree. Here's why that 4th plane, which is what I call the vertical plane or the height, is important. If you're looking at the front of a home, it lends scale to the space. In design terms, a design professor is going to call that term ecotone. Ecotone is when the edges of something large are softened in stair-step heights so that that tall planting presence makes that structure feel like it belongs on the land that it was built on. It makes things feel like they belong. But what other benefits are there to that 4th plane, the vertical plane? One beautiful thing is that by utilizing proper accents, vertical accents particularly, in the space, you can capitalize on attractive architectural features by framing or highlighting those features. If those vertical elements are out in the yard, not against the house, you can frame attractive views, or what designers call vignettes. What about unattractive views? Well, of course, that's the last and one of the most valuable aspects of the vertical fourth plane. You can also screen unattractive views or create privacy or intimacy. So again, in summary, you've got anywhere from 3 to 5 planes in planting to do an adequate planting job. You've got a potential ground plane, which could be achieved with ground covers. You've got a foreground layer, which helps create the flow and consistency across the space while creating a layer of depth. Then you have the foundational layer, which could be anywhere from 1 to 2 or 3 layers of foundational, medium scale, height plants that create a consistency across the space. And then last but certainly not least, you have your vertical elements, which are used to accent architecture, frame attractive views, and block unattractive views or create intimacy. How does that differ from some of the landscape designs you've seen? Have you ever looked at someone's house after they've gotten a professional landscape done and they've got nothing but a simple row of plants across the front of their home? Or maybe it's a simple row of plants around a patio and that's all they have going on. Perhaps it's a budgeting issue, and certainly we would never ever judge someone if they needed to work within their budget. We always recommend working within the budget. But if a consumer wants to maximize their investment dollars, if there are no layers and depth to your landscape planting, you are missing out on the contextual flow and interest that adding even 1 to 2 layers to your landscape would provide. Same goes with the front of the home. You can always tell when either an amateur landscaper or a homeowner that just didn't want to invest in their landscape redid the front of their home, because there will be nothing but a simple row of shrubs with no depth, no texture, and no consideration for accenting the architectural details of that home or considering what we call the ecotone. Look how narrow this space is, but how interesting such a narrow bed is. Now imagine experiencing this space in person. This is why layers are something you should consider, whether it's hardscaping or whether it's that outdoor living space, the planting area. Layers are something that are not spoken about enough in today's world, and we ensure you that if you talk to your professional designer about these design elements, your end result will be significantly more interesting and significantly more effective use of space. Okay? Onward. We've got a lot to talk about. Landscape lighting. I think landscape lighting is probably one of the most underutilized things that consumers don't realize how much that they're going to appreciate until they actually purchase it. But I have a caveat. Any landscape company, any landscaper can go to Home Depot or go to their local vendor and buy landscape up lights and consider themselves a professional landscape lighter. It is a mistake if you do not consider 2 key variables that make your landscape lighting stand out. First and foremost is an excellent landscape lighting investment begins with the lighting design before you've ever even invested in the lighting. You need to work with a true professional who understands there are several areas of depth and dimension to highlight in a properly executed lighting design. A true professional is going to be able to explain to you strategically when it's appropriate to use cool lighting tones and when it's appropriate to use warm lighting tones, and how you can mix those two for the ultimate in depth and texture. So the design is where it starts. But second, and probably every bit just as important as far as your investment dollars being spent wisely, is please consider the type of investment in the fixtures that you're investing in. A cheap fixture is going to cost you arm and leg more over time because they're going to need replaced and need maintenance perpetually. If you invest once in a high quality professional caliber lighting fixture, they're able to resist moisture, they're able to resist corrosion, and you can invest in fixtures. Some of them, in fact, have up to lifetime warranties. We use a couple of different products, but one of the products we offers consumers a lifetime warranty. That is unheard of if you shop at Home Depot. So let's take a look at some examples of how outdoor lighting is the secret sauce to helping you enjoy your space for hours longer. Now, these examples, for the most part, are more illuminating outdoor living spaces, but what we can do for the front of your home and your curb appeal with lighting is every bit as impactful. Again, if you hire Frank in a truck to run to Home Depot, he can go purchase uplights for you, but they're going to just have this hotspot effect that looks amateur because it is amateur. If you look at these spaces, you can see how we're utilizing different types and kinds of lights and layering those lights in for different effects. Everything from up-down lights to accent architecture to soft lighting in the hardscaping to accent that hardscaping and also delineate where to walk. Look at these miniature lights that we created in this Ipe staircase that go up to a porcelain tile outdoor living space. Look at how those play off of the up-down lights that we've used to highlight those screen. And then what you don't see, that you see really nicely as that sun continues to set, is how eloquently the undersides of this tree are uplighted to create almost a feeling of being in a tree house when the homeowners are on their patio enjoying the space. You can see here, this is a front yard. In this particular case, we're highlighting stone. We're also providing accessibility. Here's the magic of lighting. Not only is it beautiful, not only does it extend the use of your outdoor spaces for hours into the evening that otherwise you would not be utilizing the space, it provides security, it provides curb appeal. An intruder is going to be a lot less likely to be hanging out in this front landscape as the dark landscape across the street that just has some porch lights on. We cannot voice enough the value of a well-implemented, well-designed landscape lighting plan. The key is to work with a professional with high caliber training on implementing high caliber designs, utilizing multiple planes, multiple fixtures, and utilizing proper professional grade fixtures. Anybody can go buy fixtures and call themselves a lighting company. Not everybody can design proper landscape lighting that can last beautifully for you for years. You will, I guarantee you, waste money by hiring an amateur. The beautiful thing about landscape lighting is if you need to budget or phase it, it's still best to invest in the ideal lighting design up front and then phase fixtures as your budget allows. One tip and trick: ensure that you purchase the proper lighting transformer initially to handle the capacity of your ultimate goal quantity of lights. Do not purchase a small transformer, because if you have to upgrade in 2 years as you add lights, you have essentially wasted money. Let's move on. This one is probably one of the most exciting, and the one that the consumers of Kansas City anyway don't often realize is possible. With the technological advances possible today, outdoor sound systems are better than ever. At High Prairie, we went to a certification training in Atlanta over the winter to learn more about how we can bring sound to our clients' outdoor living spaces. Think about a time in your life where music set the tone of your mood. Whether you're depressed, whether you need amped up, whether you just want to listen to the Chiefs game as you're hanging out in your outdoor spaces. By adding sound system that is high caliber, we now have the opportunity to provide you with a way to set the tone and mood for any feeling or atmosphere you feel like setting. If you want to read a book in the afternoon on your terrace, you can put on your favorite soft tunes and relax as you read away. If you're hosting the big Chiefs game and you want a live broadcast, the radio broadcast of the Chiefs game while everybody's outside, you can do that. If you're hosting a 5-year-old's birthday party and Baby Shark is what they want, you can do that too. Your neighbors may have a problem with that though. So again, this is something that has the capability to really change how you enjoy your space. Yes, sound can be tricky, but when you have beautiful home theater caliber outdoor speakers, you can set the feeling. If you want to play Frank Sinatra during dinner and transition to jazz while you're floating in the pool, there is nothing that's going to help you set the tone and mood more than affecting the sound. 4, this one is exciting to me. High Prairie noticed something about a year or two ago. Our clients really love their pools and spas, but they were sick and tired of dealing with repairs to plaster, repairs to vinyl, multiple chemicals being added and constantly battled with. So we discovered by going to different areas of the country that stainless steel pools and spas are the ultimate solution to people in the Kansas City market. But let me explain that a little bit further. First and foremost, stainless pools and spas look and act very similar to a regular pool. These pictures that you see here, they show you that it's not just a tin can with water in it. They are absolutely beautiful. Second, they last significantly longer than a shotcrete, gunite, or vinyl, fiberglass, any of those options. In fact, our custom pool fabricator warranties commercial grade stainless pools for over 50 years. They build with those same standards for our custom residential pools. Notice I said custom. That's right. It's not like fiberglass where they only have 8 shapes and you have to pick one and it is what it is. We still design your pool and design exactly the shape, size, and any other features you would like to build into that pool, just as if it were custom built right there on site. If you want a sun deck, if you want a bench, if you want it to be a spa. The example of this spa we did in Leawood down here, we actually only put a custom bench on half of it and created a depth. It's actually 4 feet, which is deeper than the average spa, so that half of it can be a swim area for the homeowner's kids. We call this more of a cocktail pool than just a spa, but it happens to also function as a spa, which is super cool. It uses less chemicals as well. So unlike typical pools with chlorine and bromine, don't we all know that hot tub smell, if you will, with the bromine? You don't need that with stainless steel pools and spas. They're naturally sanitary, so all you need is a pool-grade hydrogen peroxide administered appropriately and proper UV lighting, which is included with your pool installation to kill any bacteria or issues that may plague your water. Last, but certainly not least, upkeep is next to none. There is no plaster to repair. There is no tile. There is no liner repairs. Once you've invested in a stainless pool or spa, I said spool, that's hilarious. That's what we call this one here. You really just have to enjoy it. There's very little you have to do. Investment-wise, it's similar to a gunite or a custom pool, but the longevity is unmatched, and the capability to make it as custom or as simple as you wish are values in ways that people don't even realize are possible. So today, we want to open up your eyes. If you're thinking about investing in a pool or spa, consider options outside the norm. This one, my last but certainly not least, I call this trend eyebrows worth raising. This is a project we did up in the Northland, near Parkville, kind of in the Briarcliff area. And we have seen a resurgence of utilizing eyebrow pergolas and eyebrow arbors to delineate a space and create a feeling of formality in this case. But you can also utilize more of a modern style if you felt. Here's the beautiful thing about using eyebrow pergolas. You can use them out in a space like you see in this context where we've built a fire feature and utilized that formal style. What it's going to do is create a vignette. It's going to create a focal point, and it's going to create an area of interest completely different than your flat and mundane space. What about using eyebrow pergolas and arbors against your structure? If you put this over garage doors or over a back door for that matter, you can create a feeling of a portico, or you can create a feeling of some depth and texture. Now, depending on your planting style, if it's cottage style, you can grow roses up that, you can grow vines up that. But the key here is that there is interest and character in a timeless capacity with this trend that will transcend for decades if you design the space well. Materials for these can be anything from a typical lumber. It could be cedar and stained. It could be a vinyl. It could be a metal. There are some nice aluminum products out there if they're the durable type. I do caution you with some of the vinyl products today. They can be not super durable with our freeze and thaw cycles. So please consider these things when you're investing. The downside of cedar is there's a bit more maintenance, but it's also a bit more affordable than an aluminum option. This feature here has a custom radius rounded eyebrow that is matched to the custom fire feature seating wall. We absolutely love utilizing eyebrow pergolas, and I think you could find a way to benefit from creating vignettes and fantastic use of vertical element by utilizing eyebrow pergolas. Last but not least, if you're in the Kansas City market and you're ready to do something about looking out your window and absolutely hating the view you see out there, we're available to help you solve those problems. Simply go to www.gohplg.com and click on Get Started. After a little bit of simple information, we'll give you a call back and ask a few questions to make sure we're a good fit for you. From there, a free consult is included. That may be remote depending on time of year and what's going on, or that may be in person. Or if you prefer phone, you can call us at 816-398-2900.